And we are live. Welcome to this week's edition of the Bullpen Cart Podcast presented by ThunderblogSports.com. I am Jordy Cannell, the G-Man, and joining me all the way up from Boston is my man, Greg the Prophet Piatelli. How are you, my friend?
Awesome. Game 5 Stanley Cup. I'm not sure when this will be released, but Game 5 Stanley Cup shortly after we record this podcast. Red Sox had not only the AL Offensive Player of the Month, but also the Offensive Rookie Player of the Month. So that would be Chavis and Devers. Flip them, Devers and Chavis. So yeah, huge. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, coming back finally to the baseball pod. We missed last week. We did record our Stanley Cup final preview. Then I was away in Colorado for my cousin's wedding, and between the altitude and having to pack a lot of different clothes for the variable weather and the high altitude, did not bring any of the podcast recording equipment. So we skipped last week for baseball, but I'm excited to be back talking about it because, Greg, there's been a lot of stuff that's happened over the last couple of weeks. So I'm excited to break it all down with you this fine Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, same. Jordy as well.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it. We'll go into hot teams of the week. You want to start in the AL or you want to start in the
NL? Let's mix it up. Let's start in the National League. We always start in the American League.
All right. I like it. Greg, I'll let you go first.
You know, Jordy, hot team of the week. That's not the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
For me, is going to have to be the Cubs.
Love it.
Granted, they won 3, lost 3 before that. But winners of 4 of the last 7, swept by the Cardinals at home. Yikes.
It was in St. Louis.
All right, yes, on the road. But
it was boring. Didn't you see all the news surrounding that?
No.
Yeah, so I guess I think the origination of it was somebody, either an announcer or a writer, called Chris Bryant boring, a St. Louis writer. So when on Friday afternoon, when the first game either was about to start or had started, the Cubs Twitter account tweeted out back on the road against our rivals, and they basically put it out as an acrostic of boring. And the Twitter accounts, so the Cubs and Cardinals went against each other, just using boring left and right, including the Cubs saying, "Now that's not boring," about a Chris Bryant home run. And then when the Cardinals ultimately swept the Cubs, they go, "Well, that wasn't boring either."
Yeah.
So there's a lot, it's fun to see these old school baseball rivalries coming really into 2019 and, kind of peak social media and baseball coming together.
Yeah, I love it. And especially because it's summer intern season, so it could just potentially be summer interns tweeting at each other.
It might not. Yeah, it's actually a good point too. I didn't even think about that.
Speaking of, where's the summer intern for the Thunderblog?
That's a good point. We should have hired one. We could probably try to get intern Bowden back. I think he's doing pretty well though, and I think he works at like Morgan Stanley or something. So we'll try to convince him away from the big bucks.
I love it. So for me, the Cubs, simply because that things are tightening there, or have always been tight in the Central, and after being swept and then turning around and needing to get those 3 games back, and keeping their lead in the Central, I think was needed, and hopefully the Cubs, for them, can continue this good little momentum that they have going. Oddly enough, Jordy, they are 21-10 at home, while 13-16 on the road. So,
it's tough. It's tough for them outside of Wrigley Field.
Yeah, not good analytics there for those keeping score at home.
No, not at all. And I mean, I think though, to kind of cap off on what you were saying though, they needed a bounce back. They had this 8-1 victory in a makeup game against the Angels on Monday. They win the first 2 against the Rockies. They're playing right now in their in the final game, not even a rubber match. Last night though, they grind out this 9-8 victory on the back of 7 RBI from David Bode. So I mean, we've talked about all these different names: Javi Baez, Chris Bryant, Kyle Schwarber. I mean, anybody left and right on this team, and guys that need to step up have been. And it's been awesome to see. If you're a Cubs fan, which I was just with a billion of them at my cousin's wedding, they're all pretty excited. I mean, they just signed Craig Kimbrell as well, which I'm sure you were about to bring up. But to kind of bring back to your point though of home versus away, the friendly confines are certainly right there. On the road though, I don't know how you fix it because they're not statistically a bad team. Their starting staff is starting to figure it out, and I think that's probably the best sign if you're a Cubs fan. And I mean, their offense is getting help from every which way of guys in the lineup. So I think just keep plugging away if you're the Cubs, and I think the away record will start to figure itself out. Because if you're that good at home and around 500 on the road, so only improve a couple more games right now, you're going to probably be in a pretty good spot to make the playoffs by September.
You would hope.
Yeah,
you'd hope. But in that division where, it's so tight top to bottom, I mean, only 6 games split the top and the bottom team.
Sure.
Especially because
Cincinnati won't go away. That's really the biggest.
Well, Cincinnati 6 games back, and guess what? The AL East, the Red Sox are 6 games back. So it's all. Yeah,
the Reds might have the best rotation in the NL Central right now, as good as the Cubs have been the last couple months or last month.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue. I mean, the Reds probably have the best rotation in all of baseball. They have the least amount of runs given up for all of baseball, except for the Tampa Bay Rays. So I would say the Rays and the Reds, I would say 1-2 in terms of staffs.
Yeah. How do we feel about, so we're 2 months into the season, basically 2/3. How do we feel about, or a third, 2 months, 1/3, the ongoing storyline of the Cubs versus the computer? Because the computers predicted this, that it would be very close. They didn't think the Cubs would be up top, but I think that storyline is still alive and well, Greg.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what you're talking about.
Did you not see this?
No.
So coming into the season, that's right. Jared did the NL Central preview with me. So coming into the season, various different computer projections had the Cubs finishing in 4th or 5th in the division, and the division itself being this tight, whether it was 538, MLB.com, whomever, if they did a projection, the Cubs were behind St. Louis, Milwaukee, sometimes Pittsburgh, sometimes all 4 teams in 5th place, despite winning around 85, 80 to 85 games. So the Cubs obviously have had this chip on their shoulder of, well, they're projecting us to do terribly. So the Cubs versus the computer has been a storyline I've been watching, because I thinking that a team that's 3 years removed from winning a World Series, that's virtually unchanged aside from swapping Jake Arrieta from Yu Darvish in a career worst year for the Japanese star last year, and you think he'd have a bounce back year, which it looks like he's starting to. I think it's completely out of left field to think that team's going to finish dead last in the division just because they blew it in September last year.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. Jordy, who's that team, Jordy?
Yeah, so mine, I'm going to go with the Rockies. I know we talk about the Dodgers a lot, and we're probably going to talk about them a little bit when we talk about the Phils, since they did sweep the Phillies last weekend. But the Rockies, Greg, this is a team that we've been kind of waiting for this to happen. They're winners of 8 of their last 10, now up to 31-29, and inserting themselves right back into that wild card conversation. They're 10.5 back of the Dodgers. So unless the Dodgers start to slow up in the month of June or July, we might start seeing this turn into potential AL Central territory that we've seen from the last couple of years of the Indians and everyone else chasing them. But the Rockies, they now have a positive run differential. Their pitching staff is starting to figure it out. And their offense, Greg, has really, really been doing its thing and incredibly well. They're 4th in the league, 4th in majors in batting average, 6th in runs scored. Pitching, they're starting to figure it out, but still towards the bottom in most statistical categories there. Their leading ERA pitcher is German Marquez at 4.07. So need to start seeing that figure itself out a little more, but probably the best third baseman in baseball, one of my favorite players to watch, Nolan Arenado, absolutely killing the ball. He's up to 343 in his batting average, 16 homers, over 50 RBI at this point of the season, and it's only June 6th. this is what you want to see from these guys. They have a number of dudes batting over 300, and I'm excited to see where they keep going because they are really hot right now. And who knows? We could see this turn into, if they continue to be that hot, and the Dodgers, even if they cool off just a bit, we could see this NL West race turn into, the 1 versus 4 seed in the National League.
Agreed. And like you mentioned, the NL West, with the Dodgers being so far ahead, the Rockies, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, Giants, whoever wants to make the playoffs, the only way they're going to have to do it, the only way they're going to be able to do it, make the playoffs, will be through the wild card. So,
like the Twins a couple of years ago.
Yeah, there's no chance that they're going to catch the Dodgers being 10 games back and all that stuff.
Crazier things have happened. The Dodgers have done this a couple times where in June they've been seemingly out of it and win the division.
Yeah, but the Dodgers also have big name after big name.
Yeah, that's true. They have since basically 2011.
So
regardless.
so great team there. And the Rockies right now are right in the conversation for the wild card. So I think for them, they have to continue to play hot and really, I don't want to say forget about the division. The division will take care of itself, but I'd say they need to be focused on the rest of the National League and have their focus on the rest of the National League as opposed to, what's going on around them, where they jump in their standings. They just need to be better than at least all but one for wild card teams.
Yeah, for sure. And looking at it right now, Milwaukee's, they're battling with the Cubs for first the NL Central, and they would be wild card 1, then the Braves, and the Rockies are only a game and a half behind the Braves there. So, they're putting themselves back in that conversation. They're now ahead of St. Louis by a half a game. It's going to be really exciting to see what they end up doing. And I'm trying to pull it up now. They're playing the Cubs today. But the Rockies have only played, trying to get the division breakdown. Why isn't it giving me the expanded? Never mind. I don't have division by division. I wanted to try to give us that breakdown, but I don't have. Oh no, here we go. I got it now. It did load. The Rockies, they've only played. So they played the East a lot. They've played the Phillies both in Philadelphia and away. They played 19 games against them. So that's 6+ series against NL East teams. They've only played 9 games. Today is game 10 against the NL Central. So they have a lot of room to work with there. So in other words, teams like Milwaukee, like St. Louis, who's right there, Pittsburgh, who's right behind them, to really try to separate themselves. And if they're moving in that direction, I think that's probably a pretty good sign if you're a Rockies fan.
Oh yeah, big time. And honorable mention, hot team of the week has to go to the Miami Marlins.
Yes.
4 straight games, 7 of their last 10. Not saying they're going to turn a corner, but they're 10 games out. They're the same amount of games out of first place as the Rockies are. So within their division.
I'm glad you brought this up too, because the Marlins have scored, Greg. They have been absolutely on fire offensively the last couple games against the Milwaukee Brewers too, where they've just put up. Last night they put up 8 runs. The other night they put up 16 runs. They're up 3-0 right now. They took care of business in San Diego over the weekend, and that's traveling basically as far as any team can. I mean, good for these Marlins. If they pull off a sweep in Milwaukee, that's huge.
Yeah.
Just for baseball in general, saying, you know what, we might be effectively a AAA team, but we are absolutely not out of this thing. We still are. We're playing for pride.
Oh yeah, big time. And I mean, I'll never give #respect number 2 all that nonsense.
R2-spec,
but
R2-pec,
R2-pec. But maybe this is the fruits of the labor coming to, or the whatever the expression you want to use of, all these moves are almost like the Rays. All their young guys just need experience, and it's gonna be a struggle for a year or two. Last year was the road bump. This year, sort of the well, you don't know. It's too early to tell, but hopefully that'll be the better than last. And
it's worth noting Jorge Alfaro, the catcher that the Phillies traded to Miami for JT Realmuto. He's batting .282, 9 homers, 25 ribbies. I mean, he's turning into the prospect the Phillies had hoped for and decided to part ways with to try to get the perennial all-star catcher. So good on Derek Jeter of starting to get and crew of getting prospects that are that are starting to live up to the hype. So I mean, their version of a process or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it seems like it might actually start clicking, and this might be the first year in that right step.
Yeah, and if we learned anything, we've learned that the process does not work. And
Whoa!
I mean, the Sixers did not win a title, plain and simple.
That remains to be seen. No one's retired yet.
Yeah, no, the process did not work.
All right, we're not going to basketball talk right now.
No, Jordy, honestly, just had to throw them in there, had to mention them.
Yeah. Always chirping. Anyway, back to baseball. Let's go to the AL. Hot team of the week, American League. I will start Sir Gregor, and I am going to go because I feel like we haven't really talked about them. We kept saying, "Oh yeah, they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine," and it's been 2 weeks, and their winning percentage is 2/3. I'm going to go with the Houston Astros, who are winners of 7 of the last 10. Starting pitching has been absolutely on fire, as is their offense. Greg, left and right, this team has all-star after all-star, and I think we might see a lot of different guys, maybe almost every single member of their starting lineup on the final ballot for the American League All-Star game vote. And we can jump into that if you're not sure what I mean by that. But Alex Bregman, Michael Brantley has been absolutely on fire, and Justin Verlander looking absolutely unreal. Garrett Cole striking guys out left and right. Greg, it's been fun to see the Astros really storm back after a slow start, and the opposite of the Seattle Mariners. And I would love to see, and I think we need a couple stellar outings from Garrett Cole to be on pace to do this. But I would love to see Garrett Cole in the mix for 300 strikeouts. And I know we need a couple 10 strikeout games in the month of June to be over 150 by the time June ends. But I think it's doable. I think that's something that we could be watching. I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. I want that. I want some huge milestone to look at by September end.
I love it. Wake me up when September ends. I love it, Jordy. Yeah, I mean, everyone likes strikeouts, right? Great call. Houston came in to Boston recently, took care of business for the Red Sox. But, yeah, Houston, you and I had always said be patient, similar to what we're saying with the Red Sox. And Houston was able to turn it around quicker simply because their pitching is better and healthy, whereas the Red Sox pitching is not necessarily healthy. So good for Houston. And their offense is continuing to explode like they have been all year, and only getting better with the aid of how good their pitching's been. Jordy, I'm going to go with the other team I'm going to go with a team that we should have been talking about all year, but we sort of haven't really talked about, and has to be the number one story of baseball this year, and that is, of course, the Minnesota Twins.
Yes. So, you gave me shit when I picked them as a hot team because they were coming into Philly the first week of the season. But yes, the other team,
the Twins are 15-5 in their last 20 games. 15-5 in the last 20 games. A team that is equally as good at home as they are on the road. 356 runs scored, which is the most. Absolute most in all of Major League Baseball, and by a long shot. And their pitching is only giving up 252, which is pretty, I would say, towards the bottom. Not the bottom, but I would say at least bottom 10 of 32 teams. So the Twins getting it done on both with pitching and hitting. Easily the surprise of the year has to be the Twins offense, but like I said, the last 7 games, they lost 2 in a row to the Indians, but before that, they won 3 out of 4 versus the Rays, split 1-1 with the Brewers, swept the White Sox, swept the Angels, and then won 3 out of 4 versus the Mariners. So they have just been on a tear in their last 2 weeks. We skipped last week, but 15-5 in the last 20.
Also, maybe one of the best double ups on I think it was on Sunday, where it was, I believe it was Byron Buxton, their center fielder, makes the catch, throws it almost on a fucking dime, but it took one hop. CJ Cron with maybe the most savage just swipe to double up the Rays runner. I did not catch who it was, but if you have not seen this, look it up. He almost makes a Willie Mays-esque catch and throw, but unreal play. It was certainly all over the top 10 on my flight home from Colorado. So I saw it many a time on my airplane, but an awesome play when we're when we're going to be turning back the clock at the end of the season to look at best plays.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It was unbelievable. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and find it on YouTube or Instagram.
Yeah.
No free ads for those two sites, but 40-20, just behind the Astros 42 wins. And
they were the first to 40, though. They lost their last two games, but
they were. Yes,
they were the first in the AL to 40,
and they just reached 20 losses, which is the same as
unreal.
The so that's unreal. Yeah. Exactly.
The craziest thing too, you mentioned their away record. They've played 5 more away games or 4 more away games. So they got more home games left than away. So you presume that their record would still continue to go up that way. The friendly confines of Target Field, where some of the patrons like to partake in some of the marijuana, if you remember from their opening weekend of the stadium.
I'm not sure we want to bring that up on our pod.
Oh no, you don't remember? I mean, it's a bleacher creature that counts.
All right, love it.
Quite literal. Honorable mention though, Greg. I wanted to throw out the Texas Rangers just because they're still hanging around right now. They have a better record than the Indians, and their run differential's gone positive. This is a team that we came into the season with not a lot of thoughts or any sort of hype on. Thought this was going to be a really easy story to tell. Their pitching wasn't very good. Their batting wasn't really anything to write home about. But guys like Joey Gallo, who we thought, is he going to break the Mendoza line? He has 17 homers, 41 RBI, and he's batting .276. Hunter Pence, who they picked up on a minor league deal, has 11 homers and nearly 40 ribbies. So a lot of veteran guys really coming up strong for him. So I think it's worth noting and giving them props where it's due, because they're certainly hanging on right now.
I mean, yeah, I agree. My hot team of the week, so credit to me.
Yeah, I mean, claiming 2. I guess so. It's a beautiful day. Might as well claim 2. Cold teams. Let's start in the AL. Greg, you want to start with the cold team?
Oh, man. Luckily, this was not last week, because it was last week, I would obviously say our boys, the Boston Red Sox, but this week. I'm going Kansas City Royals.
All right.
The Sox are playing them now, and the Sox need to beat up on them and continue to beat up on them. They're winning right now, so hopefully, the Sox can sweep and get 3 for 3. But yeah, that'd be awesome. Kansas City Royals for me. Cold team of the week. 8-23 on the road, Jordy. 11-19 at home.
Not good.
Not great. It's the other end of the spectrum from the Twins, but they lost right now 2 out of 3 and losing to the Red Sox, potentially being swept by the Red Sox. Lost 3 out of 4 to the Rangers. If they lose today, that'll be 6 straight losses in the last 7 games. Before that 1 win, they got swept by the White Sox and lost 2 out of 3 to the Yankees. So just a miserable end of May, beginning of June for Kansas City Royals, and cold team because everyone in the state of Missouri can lose this month.
All righty.
And if you don't know why, Jordy, you're not paying attention.
I love it. I'm going to go quickly with the Yankees. Simply just that they've lost 3 in a row. Classic announcer's curse from ESPN on, I think it was on Saturday when they had locked up the series win against the Red Sox. I think it was either ESPN or Fox does the how many series in a row the Yankees have won. And I feel like that's set them on this on this course right now. The 8-5 loss on ESPN to the Sox. Then they go up to Toronto, Greg's least favorite place to play, and have lost 2 out of 3 games. And they played a night to try to rectify something in that series. But then they continued on going to Cleveland, which, if you're not careful, that's something that could be that you would like to win it, and potentially it could be a wild card game. It could be a divisional series game, depending on how a lot of different things shake out. I know the Yankees are in first right now, but there's a lot of time left in this season, so that's why I'm saying that. So that you really don't want to go in. You don't want to have this road trip be a 500 record of 3-3. You want to try to come out of that 4-2, especially when you were so hot coming into it. So that's part of why I'm doing it. So almost as a precaution, just a lot partially because I don't want to gang up on the teams that we all think should be bad, like a Baltimore Orioles or even the Blue Jays, who before playing the Yankees have really been pretty terrible.
Yeah, I agree. Great call, Jordy. Good.
Got to keep those division leaders in check, Greg. Also, Rays Watch 2019, full force. They're only a game and a half back.
See, I can't do that because the Red Sox are
ahead of the Red Sox. Yeah,
the Red Sox are below them. Jesus.
Yeah.
Someone just
let's have them overtake the Yankees and the Red Sox. Chip away.
Jordy, cold team, National League. What do you got?
I am gonna go with. I'm going to save the Phillies for Phillies talk because they could easily be a pick. But I'm going to go with the San Diego Padres, who had been so good and really outperforming expectations. Their pitching staff really been tough, but their offense, as proven in the first game against the Phillies earlier this week, is really fucking good. Manny Machado hit a grand slam. They've really surprised a lot of people. 31-31, despite having one of the lower batting averages in total runs scored. They've really been able to figure out where to go in terms of scoring, in terms of having good pitching, a really good bullpen that we might be hearing a lot about as we enter into late June and early July around the All-Star game and trade deadline talk. So kind of a team to keep an eye out on it. And I think now we might start to see them slip. And it's a little bit of a bummer to see because they'd been doing so well with a lot of these different guys on their roster. So a lot of exciting players to keep an eye out on, like Hunter Renfroe, but who knows what we'll see with some of these other guys like a Kirby Yates or Craig Stan, pretty good middle reliever there going forward. And it'll be really interesting to watch these guys.
Great pick, Jordy.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about them?
No, I will get into the Phillies' great comeback win yesterday, but that's probably the one downside of them is their bullpen outside of those big names is a little tough to swallow from them. So I don't know. We'll see what their offense can do. Cause like I said, coming into the last few weeks, before they were so hot, they were pretty bad and underperforming. So it seems like they're a hot and cold team, quite literally of streaks. So we'll see what they do with a number of different vets like Machado, Kinsler, Hosmer. We'll see.
I like it. And as you mentioned, they were last week. They would have been the hot team of the week. They're on such a streak that, this really just blew it for them. My cold team of the week should be no surprise to those who are paying attention. Jordy, can you guess?
Are you gonna call? Is it gonna be the Phillies for you?
St. Louis Cardinals nailed it.
Alrighty.
Because the entire state of Missouri can go lose this week and next week. If you don't know why, Jordy, you're not paying attention.
I mean, we talked about their sweep of the Cubs, so explain it to the folks.
Take away the sweep of the Cubs, Jordy. You take out that sweep, right? They lost 2 out of 3 to the Phillies. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Braves. They split 1-1 with the Royals. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Rangers, and then lost 2 out of 3 again to the Braves, and then 3 out of 4 to the Pirates. So their last 20-some-odd games or so has not been great, with the exception of that sweep of the Cubs, of said Cubs. But again, take that out. Really, really not a great end of May for them. And to lose to the Reds 4-1, and then I'm pretty sure they're losing right now.
It's 1-1 right now, but they got postponed. So it could be it's a 2-game series right now and could turn into an 0-2 performance in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, do we count it as a 2-game series, or do they just resume the series later on? That's the question.
Yeah, I guess if we're really splitting hairs, I guess technically it gets. Yeah.
No, that's
Sounds like somebody doesn't want to think of the 5-game series loss of 0-5 from the Red Sox like 10 years ago as 0-5.
Or it's also everyone's talking about how the Red Sox they lost 2 out of 3 to New York, but the series isn't over because they still have to play the 4th and final game to see if they split or if they lose.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
What happens if one of the games in London gets rained out?
What'd you say?
What happens if one of the games in London gets rained out?
Well, technically they're Red Sox home games, so
they'd play them in Fenway?
Yeah, so like the Red Sox are missing out on 2 home games at Fenway.
Are they playing where Liverpool plays so that John Henry still makes money on it?
Is that Wembley?
I think that's where Manchester United plays. Is that where the games are?
I think it's Wembley because that's the biggest one, I believe.
All right, yeah. Soccer fans, get on it and report back to
Tell
us.
us what you got. Jordy, hot players, cold players, or do you want to do Phillies?
No, let's jump over to players. Yeah, let's start in the NL. I got a pretty good one. I mentioned the Colorado Rockies. I think you mentioned them. But I'm gonna go with Daniel Murphy as my hot player of the week. In 6 games this week, he was 11 for 26, a batting average over 400, 11 ribbies, and 2 runs scored on his end. Really helping to drive in the ball. A lot of singles, a few strikeouts here, but really seeing the ball pretty well. So I'm gonna go with him and really his ability to really drive a lot of runs in.
If you're going with the Rockies, I feel like you have to go Trevor Story.
Yeah, he's a good pick too. I saw his runs scored, and he's doing it all for the Rockies there. I mean, you could also go David Dahl because he's been also on fire, but yeah, Trevor Story is probably the good pick as well.
Yeah. I'm also surprised, American League, you did not go with Jay Bruce.
Yeah, you mean the National League?
Sorry, National League. Jay Bruce.
Yeah, he's only played 2 games as a Philly, so it's a little tough.
Last 7 days, regardless, Philly's not Philly. Last 7 days, 500.
Cross division then, or cross leagues.
Jay Bruce, 500 batting average, 8 RBI, 4 home runs, 8 runs total.
Yeah, 2 homers in 1 game on I think it was Wednesday night or on Tuesday night for the Phillies.
Yeah,
very very nice performance, helping to lead the Phils over the San Diego Padres. So that's a good pick too.
Last 7 days, I mean, he's
Technically, the part of that was as a Seattle Mariner, so that's part of why I didn't pick him.
Oh, is that why you didn't pick him, or you just didn't want to be a homer and?
Well, I normally don't like to pick Phillies on my hot players of the week anyway, because we're going to talk about the Phillies. Same with why I don't normally pick Red Sox unless they're that dominant. Hint, hint for later, Greg.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jordy, American League, what do you got?
American League, Greg. It's a good question. I'm just going to pull the trigger and go with Mike Trout.
If you say Mike Trout, I swear to God.
Yeah, I did literally right before you said if you say Mike Trout.
If you say Mike Trout, I'm hanging up.
All right. Then
no.
Solo pod
Say Mike Trout. Say Mike Trout. Go
ahead. I think it's a solo pod for the rest. 10 for 24, 3 homers, 9 ribbies, 7 walks, 6 strikeouts. So, I mean, there's a little bit there. He's getting aggressive, Greg, but the stolen base here. A guy who, the Angels aren't really. This is probably the most we'll be, talking about them this week, but it's just kind of what you hope to see out of this guy who really just needs more help is probably the best way to put it in LA of A.
Please.
But you got to give credit where it's due. What'd you say?
You're falling into the media hype.
I mean, that's a pretty good week, regardless if it's media hype or not.
No, I mean, like, he needs more help. Yeah, no, great week for Mike Trout.
He does, though. I mean, Tom Estella had a decent week, but their pitching staff's awful. Like, get him pitching around him. I mean, they're scoring enough runs, but their pitching staff is terrible.
My hot player of the week from the American League, Shohei Ohtani, would be a pitcher for them, but he had Tommy John, so he'll be back next year.
Yes.
My hot team of the week, I mean, Jared Reaver was the biggest mistake they've ever made, but.
Oh, yeah.
My hot player of the week is Francisco Lindor.
Great pick. Great pick.
Yes, last 7 days, much better than Mike Trout in the last 7 days. Lindor, 455 average, 1 stolen base, 5 RBIs, 4 home runs in 7 days, and 7 RBIs. Great week from him and from the Indians, who, on the outside looking in terms of their division, 9 games back, 1 game over 500 outside of looking in terms of playoffs. So Indians need to turn some things around here and quickly if they want to keep their little playoff streak alive.
Yeah, talking about that, I mean, they're on the outside looking in right now behind Tampa and the Red Sox for the wild card teams. Then we mentioned the Rangers, who are actually half a game ahead of them, or 2 games actually, because they've or 1 game, two less losses. So yeah, they do need to try to figure some stuff out. Their pitching has been all over the map this season so far, and their offense, I feel like we talk about this at least once every other show. Of it's just we need to see it pick up, and we need to see it really get it going, because they're behind the White Sox in run score, behind the Royals, teams that we're talking about, behind Baltimore even, teams that we talk about that we expected to have bad offenses. The Indians have less runs scored then. So if Lindor is really starting to get it going, and if they can get some guys healthy, we hopefully will see them turn it around. I mean, it's only June 6th, but you're right. I mean, they're 9.5 games back, and they're now they have to hurdle 2 teams to be even in the wild card conversation, or sitting in it. So we'll see. Hopefully this is the start of a veteran leading the way for an Indian squad.
I love it. Jordy, pitchers of the week. I'll go first, or do you want to go first?
No, you go first. I started with batters.
Do you want? Are we just doing one, or?
If you want to do a starter and a reliever, you're more than welcome to. I was going to do that.
All right, perfect. So this has been a crazy good week in terms of pitching.
Yes.
Very difficult to pick who, just the best of all the performers, I should say. So for starters, I'm going to go with Hyun-Jin Ryu from the Los Angeles Dodgers.
I like it.
14.2 innings pitched in the last 7 days, 2 wins, 9 Ks, 0 earned runs. The reason why I went with him as opposed to a guy like Scherzer, who had 8 innings, 15 Ks, only 1. He only had 1 start, right?
Yep.
And then Chris Sale, who had a shitload of strikeouts, no runs yesterday, but runs the game before. So for me, Hyun-Jin, Dodgers starting pitcher, player of the week for me.
No, I like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to go with Scherzer as my start of the week, but it's worth noting Chris Sale, 22 Ks and 15 innings over the week, and his second immaculate inning of the season. Greg, he's the first guy since 1928 to have multiple immaculate innings in one season. So good on Chris Sale. But Max Scherzer is the reason why I'm going for him. Only 3 hits allowed, 1 run, as you mentioned, a walk, a whip of 0.5, batting average of 1.11, and an ERA of 1.13, and basically yelling at his manager. This is a guy who in the national season has not nearly been going the way that a lot of people thought it was going to. They thought they have Juan Soto, they have guys like Trey Turner, who was banged up. All these different guys that could still carry the torch that in Bryce Harper's absence. Scherzer being the front load of the pitching staff, and this is a guy who I think probably let some of that frustration boil over in it, but he's still doing his thing. He's still doing that Max Scherzer thing of being absolutely dominant. So good on him. And we'll see where it goes with him and the Nationals. And I think he's still owed a lot of money. I don't think he's a name that you'd hear about at the deadline if somebody's really looking for a starter, because it's not like a basketball or a hockey where you might see a fool's ransom traded for a guy like that in the middle of the season. But who knows? We've seen crazier things happen, and if he continues to dominate, maybe the Nationals chip away at it and they find themselves as a dark horse candidate for a wild card team.
I mean, has anybody had a more dominant 5 years than this guy?
No, I don't think so.
Pitching
mean,
wise,
maybe Pedro, peak Pedro.
Yeah, I mean, I was
Like
thinking you could argue
Red, like
Verlander,
end of Astros, start of Red Sox Pedro.
end of Expos, yeah.
Yeah, where you had this was like I got the alert a couple days ago. It was like 25 years ago. He was perfect through 9 innings, and they went into extras.
Yeah.
Like another hasn't been done since the dead ball era feat.
I mean, miserable.
Yeah, I mean, who knows there? I mean, that's a really good question. I'd love to hear some people's thoughts on different ones, but yeah, the Nationals also a dark horse hot team of the week. Winners of 8 of their last 10. So good on me for bringing them up, trying to diversify the teams we talk about. Greg, you have a reliever you want to mention?
Yeah, I have a couple relievers, but number one reliever would be for me Sean Doolittle from said Washington Nationals.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Thank you, Jordy. 3.2 innings pitched, 1 win, 3 saves, 5 Ks. So in 4 games that he appeared this week, he got a win and 3 saves in 4 appearances, 0 runs earned. Great little week for him in the last 7 days. And for me, the reliever of the week, more so than Brad Hand, who went 3 for 3 on saves, but he did not get a win like Sean Doolittle. So that's why I distinguished there.
Okay.
What do you got, Jordy?
Yeah, I could go with Kenley Jansen, and not the other reliever to get 3 saves on the week. Similar to Brad Hand, he only appeared in 3 games. He did let up a hit, so shame on you for not having a whip of 0. But I'm gonna go in terms of holds, and I'm gonna go with I'm going to go Sean Newcomb. I wasn't going to go with him, but because he's let up a number of hits, but I'm going to go with Newcomb. 3 appearances, 3 holds. It was only over four outs that he made, but 2 Ks really did the most of the work there. I almost went with Adam Ottavino from the Yankees or Tommy Kaline, guys that have really helped the Yankees be where they've been in the last 7 days, but kind of just building off of also the coldness of the Yankees in the last few days, I decided not to go that way. So Newcomb's my guy. The Braves right now are actually losing to the Pirates 5-1. So good news for me as a Phillies fan. But the Braves are still fighting second place in the NL East and in a pretty good spot if you're an Atlanta fan.
I love it, Jordy. Good for you.
Yeah.
Phillies talk?
Yeah, let's jump into Phillies talk. So it was similar to what you were saying. It's been an interesting 2 weeks for the Phils. You mentioned the series win against St. Louis last week. That was very, very strange. Of a lot of rain in Philadelphia right when I first left to go to Colorado. So some of those games against the Cardinals were delayed. Then they go out to LA. They get swept. They lost the series finale against the Cardinals and lost the series opener against the Padres. So 5 straight losses at one point this week. They go out. We mentioned Tuesday night where Jay Bruce had 2 homers. Scott Kingery had a home run. Really scary moment on Monday night, though, where Andrew McCutchen tore his ACL and is now out for the year. So really precarious position the Phillies are in. They called up one of their top prospects, their first-round pick from 2 years ago, Adam Hazley, who went 0 for on Tuesday night, but yesterday, Greg, had his first ever major league hit, and it was the game-winning RBI. And earlier in the game, he had scored, and the Phillies end up pulling out this great come-from-behind win. They were down 5-2 in the 7th inning, win 7-5, and now they come home for a little bit of a mini homestand. They play the Reds this weekend. I'm going to try to go tomorrow night. Then they play the Diamondbacks at the beginning of next week. So it's going to be really fun seeing them come back at home because it feels like forever since they have been, partially because I was away for the 3 games that they were home last week. So I'm excited, and I think they're in a pretty good spot right now. Obviously, though, we would be remiss if we didn't mention also the news of Odubel Herrera and what happened with him in Atlantic City with the potential domestic violence charges against him. He's on the restricted list right now, so that's part of the Phillies outfield thinness, if you want to call it that. So it's the Phillies have made a number of different roster moves in the last 2 weeks, And it's going to be really interesting. You have some young guys up in the lineup. The Jay Bruce trade couldn't have happened at a better time, considering what happened to McCutchen and everything there. So going forward, it'll be fun to see Gabe the Babe and how he puts these lineups together, because he's now moved Bryce Harper to second and Gene Segura to third. Cesar Hernandez has been leading off in McCutchen's absence. So you're really starting to see some of the wheels spinning, I think, in Kapler's mind as well as in Matt Klintak's. And I think going forward, it'll be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that was going to be my question is, we talked about it maybe a month ago, but how's Gabe the Babe handling all the talent? How's he handling, I questioned McCutchen playing so much and, so, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm happy. Obviously, you never want to root for someone to get hurt, but this allows some of the young guys to play a lot more.
Yep.
Which only will make them better, and only whether whether this is the year for the Phillies or they're kind of built for long term. So McCutchen getting a lot of playtime, helped them this year, but the Phillies are built with a ton of young talent and a team that will last long term, with the exception of their pitching staff. So my question to you, Jordy, is Kluber or Keuchel? Which one is it?
It's Keuchel. It's a free agent right now.
Yeah, Keuchel. Go out and get him?
Yeah, so it's interesting you asked that, because we saw Kimbrel get signed yesterday, of course, to the Cubs. And a big reason why you're starting to see this and the rumors of who they're going to get signed by really build up is now you don't have to have draft pick compensation included in signing these guys. So yeah, it'll be interesting, because you mentioned young guys, and it's fun seeing them come up, because they have a lefty named Cole Irvin they've brought up a couple times to get some starts. They actually used an opener over the weekend against the Dodgers, basically because they didn't want Cole Irvin to just immediately come up from AAA and get thrown to the wolves, because different guys have gone on and off the DL, different starters. I mean, so getting another lefty in there would probably do a pretty good justice for the Phillies. Of course, the Yankees have been the leading name in the Dallas Keuchel sweepstakes right now. The Phillies still have a lot of money, so it's not necessarily, I think, a question of that. I think it might be a fit question for Dallas Keuchel. So who knows? I mean, I think it'd be a welcome addition. Just add another veteran arm to a starting rotation that's been pretty banged up. And I think, though,
the Yankees will be a name to the end of time for
any
and all people who cost money.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, though, that really what's impressed me in the last couple weeks, and there's been some concern here and there, has been the bullpen. Hector Neris had a really good 5-out save last night, because another injury. The Phillies. I think the Phillies need to stay away from the West Coast, Greg, because players always seem to get hurt out in California. Rhys Hoskins hit himself in the face last year with the foul ball. That's where he wore the Magneto mask afterwards. Sir Anthony Dominguez, though, who got a hold, but he got removed from the game, and he is now, I don't think he's officially been put on the IL, but he did leave the game with I think it was a hamstring injury. So we'll see what happens with him. Maybe he'd been a little bit banged up before that, and that's why he'd been a little shaky to start the year. ERA over 4, a WHIP of almost 1.5. So we'll see that. But Hector Neris, like I mentioned, 5-out save yesterday. He's really looked strong throughout this season, and dating back to August when he first came back up from AAA, when he'd really been abysmal at the start of 2018. So good on him. I mean, it's his 12th save of the year. He had a couple strikeouts. His fastball is looking great. He's had an awesome splitter throughout 2019, to the point that yesterday that I think a lot of people, and the Phillies announcers even mentioned this, that you kind of started to think that you knew the pattern of pitches of when he throw a fastball and when he throw a splitter. And I think batters were trying to catch on to that too, because they were laying. There was a great fastball that he just threw almost right down the middle, just low in the strike zone, that I think the batter thought was going to be a splitter low in the dirt, and Neris challenged him, and the guy didn't even take the challenge. He just had the bat on his shoulder and ended the game. So, I mean, the long-winded compliment, the Phillies bullpen has been a lot better recently. And if they continue to perform this way, who's to say that it's not going to be the worst, it's not going to be the bane of my existence coming through this summer as it had been in the spring.
No, and I think Sir Anthony getting all that experience they had last year, and I think the bullpen not getting overworked helps a lot too, because think about the appearances mostly last year was either in a close game or high pressure situation, close game or down, where they had to either keep the lead or keep the gap the same, right?
Yep.
This year they're playing with more of a lead, less one-run games and more winning by 2-3 runs where they have some wiggle room. So
yeah, absolutely. Yesterday, obviously, they came from behind, but it was still a great performance. That's a really good point. And I think it's just a compliment, too, to the Phillies offense that they, at any point, can manufacture these runs, because it's not just Bryce Harper. It's not just Rhys Hoskins. It's guys like Segura. It was McCutchen. Now he's hurt. But guys like Franco. Kingery's been great in the last week since he's really gotten back into the starting lineup. So, I mean, if these guys continue to play, up and down the lineup like they have in the first 2 months of the season, it should be pretty fun and hopefully good for my bank account with Phillies over under 89.5 wins. Thank you very much.
He doesn't bet often, folks, but when he does, he goes for.
I'm glad you don't think I'm a degenerate, because there are some people that do.
Not gonna point fingers, but
Matty D, even though he's a complete degenerate. Man, you should have seen him at the Waste Management.
I don't know if I wanted to see him at the Waste Management.
Oh, it was funny. It was fun. It was just getting him. He got to the point that we were betting dollars on all different things, Greg, that Matt we bet $1 of who would get through airport security first at the Phoenix airport.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was great. Oh, it's so funny.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah. But what else do you think about the Phillies? What else do you want to know or theorize about them?
I mean, the big thing is, and the big question that's always going to lurk is, at the end of the day, Jordy, they had a lead last year going into September.
Yep. They'd go into August and they blew it.
Right. So
they were 2 games back on September 1st.
Okay. My point is, the always forever looming is Bryce Harper or JT Realmuto, or I guess McCutchen's gone now, but do they have enough leadership, or do the guys know enough from last year that, hey, we can't fade like we did last year? Is it they have more pieces now where guys don't have to play as much, so they won't fade? Is it, what is being done differently this year to make sure that the team doesn't fade? And I think, from my own perspective, obviously, with outside the obvious of having more offense than you had last year and more guys that, like if last year if Rhys went on a slump, the team sucked, and Odubel went on a slump, the team sucked. This year they have other guys who can hit at the same, if those two go on a slump, whatever.
Well, yeah, and Odubel may not play another game in a Phillies uniform, so there's that too. But yeah, I think it is that there's more veterans. There's Realmuto versus Alfaro. Alfaro he's doing very well this year. I mentioned it before with the Marlins. But Realmuto, I think, adds another layer to it, where if Harper's slumping, if Hoskins is slumping, and we've seen it throughout parts of this season, that Realmuto can really pick up the slack. Segura can pick up the slack. And when they're all clicking, it's great. And we, obviously had a really rough weekend in LA where you only score 5 runs and that you let up 20 of them. So, we can see the opposite end of that too, where it's tough, and I don't know, but I think it's tough in that aspect where you tie up a game like you did Friday night with a Bryce Harper homer, and then Hector Neris lets up a bomb to I think it was their 8-hitter, the Dodgers. But I think when it's all clicking, it's great, and there are certainly times where it does slump. I think really the offense, unlike last year, where the offense really started to cool off in August and you started to see it slowly trickle throughout the pitching staff, I think with those younger guys and those younger pitchers and building confidence behind them with this offense, I think is probably the key in keeping that up, because it sounds simple enough, but it's easier to pitch with a lead. It's easier to pitch when your offense is going to go out there and put up runs for you. And I think last year the confidence went away, and that's why the Phillies were absolutely abysmal in August, and especially in September, when they almost lost 12 in a row to close out the year. So I think that's probably the key to this year, is just making sure that you instill that confidence going into September that we're going to pick you up to the rest of the pitching staff. Whether it's a reliever saying it to, for instance, Jake Arrieta yesterday, we're going to pick you up, Jake. We're going to stop it at 5 runs right now. And that's what they did. They threw half a game of pretty great baseball. And really at the point where they were, they're runners in scoring position. Hector Neris comes in, gets 2 outs, and then can go back out in the 9th inning. So I think just building the confidence and these guys really seeming, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, really seeming to all like each other, enjoy being on this baseball team, whether it's Kapler or any of the other guys, just having fun, I think I think that's the key. It's just remembering it's a kid's game and just play like you're still a kid.
And I'll come back to that point, but that goes a long way because that's similar to what the Red Sox sort of had all last year, was the whole fun thing, and that whole vibe. So definitely works. Definitely a unifier. The whole kids game thing. You're getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars. That Okay. Better question, Jordy. Final question for the Phillies before we move on. How come a Friday night game at Citizens Bank Park is only $17? How come I can go right now for $17?
Yeah, so that's the cheapest seats. It's standing room and also the upper deck. And that's what that's what the Phillies have always been able to do. I mean, even when the year after they won the World Series, I think they were $15 for those seats. That's face value. It's face value.
Okay, you can't even get into Fenway for less than 50, 60.
Yeah, I mean it's the face value of the ticket. So I mean, so back in 2010, 11, when the team was still really good, the first couple of years after the World Series win, they were sold. I mean, that was the sellout streak, so it was tough. You'd have to get there at like 4:30 to get one of those tickets. They go pretty quickly. If you're lucky enough to get them, great. But if not, you got to go buy on the secondary market. And now the StubHub SeatGeeks of the world are really out there. Last year, you could buy tickets for as low as $3, which was awesome for me as a fan of this team for as long as I have been. But now you're starting to see, if you don't get there quick enough, you're going to have to buy a ticket for $25, $30 off of a SeatGeek and potentially have to do standing room instead of buying a ticket in right field for however much, Oh,
no, listen, I would love it. I would love it if there was that.
Yeah, I mean, it's good on them of keeping ticket prices low for how expensive everything is inside the stadium. We talk about all these stadium snacks, and they're not cheap. Yeah. The fancy dancy ones. So I mean, good on the Phillies for knowing that.
For that. So Jordy, I have a couple bleacher creatures. Do you have any?
Yeah, I have a few too. Give me your first one, and then I'll give you one of mine.
Okay.
Because we might cross over on a few of these.
Are you sure?
Oh, yeah, you go first.
Okay. First one from me, Paul Pierce. So I don't know if you've seen this yet, Jordy.
Yes, I saw this last night, but tell the fans.
So when the Boston Celtics in 2008 won the NBA title, the most ever for any franchise in all of the NBA, Paul Pierce famously went down with a knee injury, got wheelchaired off the court, came back some 10, 15 minutes later, running, jumping, went on to be the game high point getter. Everyone thought he tore his ACL because he went out on a wheelchair, all that stuff. Last night on the broadcast, he works for a
pregame show. Yeah,
he works for one of the pregame shows for one of the networks. Last night, there's been rumors out there that he, I believe the medical term is defecated in his pants. The rumor is that he defecated in his pants and that he needed to. That's why he got wheelchaired off, so that
because they were wearing white jerseys.
They were wearing white jerseys.
Didn't want to see it.
Exactly, nothing would run down his leg and what have you. Last night, Paul Pierce all but confirmed said rumors, and whether it will be seen as it is he was joking, or whether it'll be seen as this is what actually happened. I personally think he's joking, but this how he said it with the straightest face and Chauncey Billups also on the pregame show had to agree, but basically basically Paul Pierce is like, yeah, the reason why I got wheelchaired off because it was like the anniversary of X amount of years ago this happened.
Yeah.
I got wheelchaired off because I had to go to the bathroom and I didn't want to stand up and have everyone see what had happened inside of his pants.
Yeah, see, it had a little bit of a little bit of a wet one.
So up to you. What do you think? I think he's just joking, playing into the rumor and comedy of it. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd probably think that he's kidding around. Paul Pierce has been a guy who his entire career has always joked around, kept it light, kept it fun. Sort of, it seems like that's the theme of today's episode, Greg. But obviously, there was all the SportsCenter commercials, the Boston 3 Party in that era. He, when he was on the Wizards, was having fun on social media and really, I think, helping that team when they won some of their series. I think his veteran presence helped there. Yeah, so I would think he's kidding around. I don't think he actually shit his pants. I mean, the greatest though was how he just took in stride. Everybody gave him shit afterwards, be like, "Oh, I broke my knee," blah, 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 blah. And then he comes back, and even I forgot how kind of gingerly he would land, and it looked like he really did bust his knee when he's making those 3-pointers. And if you prep, I guarantee you, and I'm sure everybody that listens to this podcast is a big enough sports fan that if you're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you're seeing the highlights of this where he's landing with that wide step, almost looking like he's like trying to swat somebody out of the way. With how wide it is and how wide his arms go. I forgot how gingerly he looked hitting those 3-pointers in that first game.
Yeah, I mean, he had a legit knee injury and still whatever. Anyway.
Was he finals MVP or was it Kevin Garnett?
No, they gave it to him.
They gave it to Pierce.
Everyone said it should have gone to Ray Allen, but they gave it to Paul Pierce partly because he was the Boston Celtics before those guys got there. So
yeah. I remember a year before that when they was it because didn't they get Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett within like an hour of each other? It was something really quick.
Because Garnett had a no trade clause, so they needed to prove to like Garnett wasn't going to approve the trade unless they did something else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I remember that, and I remember because that was when the NBA Finals were still 3-2-3 or 2-3-2.
Yeah.
And wasn't it? Then they split the 2 games in Boston. Or it was something where like everybody was convinced that it was going to come back to Boston with the Lakers up 3-2 and like the Celtics would have to force a game 7 and all this stuff. And then they ended up winning it in 5 games, right? They won it in LA. Again,
everyone in Boston, no one likes to win at home. Another reason as to why I said the Bruins in 6.
Poor Greg. Don't win on home turf.
Seriously. Retweet.
Do you and I, me and my lowly 2 championships and you with your more than 10, have our teams won the same amount at home?
How many have the Phillies won it? Or
the only one that they could win at home, they won. Game 5 of the 2008 World Series. They couldn't win a Super Bowl at home.
Yeah, I mean, no Super Bowls have been won at home.
Yeah.
The Celtics won on the road.
The Bruins won on the road.
How
about the Red Sox won in Boston?
The Red Sox only won. They only won 1 at home. Yeah. Oh,
Greg, I can compare myself to you in some way.
The Red Sox swept the Cardinals, swept the Rockies, and then the 13 they won at home, and then last year.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because Ortiz was about to curse on TV, and they're like, "No, you can't curse after the World Series. We'll let you curse after the bombing, but not after the World Series."
And then last year they won on the road, so only one. Yeah. Only one out of the tens of thousands of championships.
Oh man, poor Greg. Greg.
Thank you, Jordy. Thank you.
Yeah, poor Greg. Woe is you. So what are you? You're at 12 currently, going for 13.
I mean, I've lost count, but give me your Bleacher Creature. I'll get a count for you.
Yeah, so I have a couple. One is, and I don't know if this is Bleacher Creature or if it's just an asshole of the week. Have you seen all the stuff? Angel Hernandez is back in the news.
What do you do?
So he's a Major League Baseball umpire, for those that don't know. And I think it was either last night or it was 2 nights ago, but he, on a pitch from Masahiro Tanaka, it's an 0-1 count, and a pitch comes right down the middle of the plate. And if you see it on PitchCast, they have the 3 boxes on the lower half, the lower third, the 9 boxes, the low and middle one. It's the pitch cast puts the pitch right in the middle of that, and it was called a ball. It was so blatantly a strike. This guy called it a ball, and there have been memes everywhere. The one I have is the uh, is the meme of the guy shooting a guy on the couch and goes, "Why would X do that?" So it's guy on the couch, correct calls. Angel Hernandez shoots him. Why doesn't MLB let me call postseason games? All right, and I've paused long enough that I can cut that. Greg, whenever you're done, we'll jump back onto it, and I can re-say it too to get the more natural reaction. And while you're on your work call, I'm gonna go take a piss. Oh, California soul. California soul. California soul.
I'm donating my sequin shorts.
Uh-huh.
Put them in a box. And I texted Allison and Julie, and I'm surprised I'm donating my sequin shorts. It's the end of it.
All right, I'm back. Sorry.
It's all good. No. Finish your story.
Oh, and then Julie was like, to be honest, the fact that you still own them is an atrocity. And then I was like,
That's funny.
And I said, to be honest, I'm looking for a more structured pair
That's
in
funny.
my old age. And she just sent me like the baseball emoji.
That's very funny. All right, Greg. Sounds good, man. Yeah, I'll finish the. Do you want me to just retell the meme?
Sure.
All right. Okay, sounds good. Sorry, we're cleaning up because those people are coming to look at our place soon, in like 2 hours. So she was coming in while you were off. Yeah. So. All right, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so there's this meme there have been a lot of memes that have been circling around through the internet, and one that I found is that meme of the guy who, there's a guy dead on the couch, he shoots him and goes like, "Oh, why did X do this?" And this one is like the guy shooting is Angel Hernandez. Correct calls the already dead body, shoots the dead body, and goes, "Why won't MLB let me call postseason games?"
Nice.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good because it's go look this up. The Statcast images that show it. The Yankees writer on Barstool had a pretty good image of it. It's abysmal of showing how bad this guy's calls are. And yeah, he for those that don't know, he's put lawsuits against Major League Baseball saying they won't, they discriminated against him and stuff like that. And he's a guy that it's a weird situation to handle because he's blatantly calling things terribly, but Major League Baseball has these other outstanding suits with him that make things a little more nuanced than they need to be, in my opinion.
Agreed, Jordy. Agreed. Yeah. What?
You said you had a couple other bleacher creatures though.
Yeah, the other one was D-Day.
Yes. But do you want me to give my other two before we go serious?
R.I.P. and P. That's all I needed to say.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, 75 years ago today was D-Day, and we appreciate everybody that guys that are still hanging around that served on that day, and everyone else that did that have gone off to heaven, and that helped everything in the effort of World War II. Obviously, it's huge.
Did one of the George Washington canals the 5th or 3rd or 2nd or one of them?
No, the fifth. That was 16 years before he was, or 17 years before he was born. The 4th, I don't think fought, and he did not fight. He was in the army, but I think he was in the reserves. And I don't think any of my great grandparents did. But I know I have uncles who were Marines and saw action in the Gulf War. The first one, not the second one. So
George Washington definitely served. So
yes, he did. We were talking a little bit about my golf club off air, but George Washington marched through the grounds of Gulf Mills Golf Club. That's the urban legend surrounding it.
Let's have a fun fact.
Yeah, very fun fact. Yeah. So I have two. I have two more. One is pretty quick, but there was the Astros top prospect has been intentionally walked so much, Greg, that there's a video of him the other night getting intentionally walked where he knew it was coming, so he didn't even bring his bat to the plate. How about that?
In college baseball?
I believe he's in. It looks like he's in the minors. His name is Jordan Alvarez, and yeah, he's in the Houston Astros system. Yeah, didn't even need to bring his bat up to the plate.
That's pretty cool because, ironically enough, there's a guy in the College World Series baseball. College World Series
It was the regionals this past weekend, Greg. First round.
He the bases were loaded, and they intentionally walked him.
Does college have the wave for the intentional walk? They don't need to throw pitches.
No, they threw the pitches, but it was like they intentionally walked him with the bases loaded.
Yeah. You know, I got to say, the Women's College World Series just wrapped up and UCLA took the title for it. I love watching both the softball and baseball tournaments. They're so cool. Just both the double elimination format and everything there and all the different players and hearing their backstories and especially just the dominant performances that the girls put up or the women put up in theirs. Like that UCLA pitcher who pitched 10 innings and then hit the walk-off home run to send them to the championship series. I mean, it's so cool. And then seeing all the different stories of like a 3 seed, which is really like the equivalent of a 12 seed in the basketball tournament, making the super regionals, which is the Sweet 16. It's all pretty cool. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. And UCLA won, correct?
Yes, UCLA won the Women's College World Series, the softball national championship.
And the reason why I know that is because Tom Brady's niece will be attending next year as a freshman softball player.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I did not know that. That's pretty cool to hear. It's a fun. Both are fun tournaments to watch. And for those that don't know, 64 teams get in. They're all separated into two regionals, which unlike the basketball tournament, which is the 4 brackets, it's 16 different 4-team tournaments, double elimination. So if you lose your opening game, you still got another shot. And then once that's divided, once those are done, they're all paired off into what are called super regionals, which is a 3-game series that'll be played this weekend. Then you go off to the College World Series where they split the bracket up again into 2 double elimination tournaments. The winners of those play a 3-game series for all the marbles. So it's effectively 4 rounds of double elimination. Very cool, very fun to watch. It's a lot of baseball, a lot of softball. So if you're a junkie like Greg and I are, they're fun storylines to watch. But the guys tournament's cool because the draft is obviously right around the same time. So you have stuff like the one kid, I think, forget what school he's coming from, but he gets drafted and within 5 minutes hits a home run to go ahead for his school. But you also get all the cool stories of the softball players and what they've done and all this, because ESPN really, for both, they really do, but for the softball to really get those backstories, kind of like in the basketball tournament, they really go ham on that.
Agreed. I agree.
So that was a bonus Bleacher Creature. That was not my last one.
Okay, let's hear it.
My last one, and it might also qualify for baseball players are fucking crazy. Did you see that a member of the Yankees AA team of the Trenton Thunder broke up a no-hitter with a bunt single the other day?
Ooh, I did see this.
Yeah, and then there was a bench clearing brawl over it.
So they literally cleared the benches. I didn't know that they cleared the benches, but
they cleared the benches. Yeah,
it was a no-hitter, but there was a run on the board, right?
Yeah, there was a guy at Berkshire who did that. He probably walked a couple errors, a run in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you remember, what was Oscar's last name? Oscar. He was 2 years ahead of us. He threw a no-hitter and he let up like 2 runs because he walked a bunch of guys and we had a couple errors on JV.
Was it not Martinez?
Oscar Martinez. Oh man, and Gil. I'm not gonna make a joke. Gil was one of our outfielders. He had the game-winning hit.
Well played. So I didn't know there was a bases clearing brawl. What do you think about that? What do you think about people doing that? I mean, I've seen the strategy before. Evan
Longoria tried it in a perfect game for Mark Burley.
I don't know why people would be upset. Like I get like from a historical standpoint, from a team standpoint, like what that's bullshit. But at the same time, what's the difference between a bunt in the first inning and a bunt in the ninth inning, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things where like the unwritten rules have been so.
But
They've
if the score was 10-0, maybe I'd understand. But it looked like it was like 4-1.
Yeah, I think there was some strategy into bunting. I mean, it's one of those things where like you hear all the time of why don't guys with the shift put on them bunt, and some people say, you know what, I'm just going to do it, and if they're going to not respect that possibility, so be it. And I don't know. I think there's gamesmanship involved into it, and I don't know if you think it's cheap to try to do it, but at the same time, third baseman, shortstop, first baseman, whoever's supposed to be right there and fielding that spot. That's why you practice that. I mean, like we had that all the time in high school, and that's high school. I'm sure in college, the minors, the any sort of pro level, you're doing a way more infield practice than a high school baseball team is for 2 hours, 5 days a week. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's the unwritten rules, but they've come under fire so much over the last 5 years with all the different, let the kids play and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. It's one of those things where I get it. It's kind of a, all right, buddy, like good on you that you threw down the bunt, because it's kind of, I mean, there's something to be said on there. But if you're skilled enough to do it, it still counts. It's it's still a hit in the scorebook. So I don't know. It's one of those things. I thought the bench clearing brawl was a little bit over the top, but it's certainly an interesting story to come out of minor league baseball.
I love it. And the debate continues because it sounds like you think you're not allowed to do it, and I think fuck it. If it's a close game, why not?
Yeah, I'm kind of in between. I get both sides of.
And again, you played baseball, I didn't, so you would know.
Yeah, Jared's the one that we really need to get it through, because he played, as he refers to, his men's league beer baseball team, beer league baseball team, as semi-pro, semi-amateur. He'd be the one to really come down. He was the Tom Hanks, the player manager of his team.
How could you be semi-amateur? You're either getting paid or you're not.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was a line to impress the females.
But I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. We can ask him another time.
Another pod for another day.
Jordy. Greg.
Real question.
Fire away.
Last time you played golf, what'd you shoot? What was the score?
Just yesterday, I shot an 87.
Wow.
Yeah. 2 birdies, buddy. 2 birdies.
That's unreal.
Started the day with an 8 on a par 4 and ended up with an 87. I was pretty proud of myself.
The real question is, how many balls did you go with, and how many balls did you go home with?
I lost 1 ball.
Ooh.
Yeah. Lost it on the 16th hole.
Oh, hate that.
Yeah.
You bogeyed 17 and 18.
Bogeyed 17, parred 18.
Oh, a new ball didn't hurt you that much.
No, it did not. 18 is also the easiest hole at Gulf Mills, the 18 handicap. So it's a shorter par 4. If you have a good enough drive, you and I could easily go for it in 2. Most men can. If you have a good enough drive, that is.
Wow, Jordy. Women can too, buddy. Jeez.
So it's not that. It's there's massive uphill shot, and they can. If women can really slug the ball, you absolutely can. The only downside, or actually, it's not even a downside. They certainly can, especially if you're playing from the red tees, playing from the women's tee, or playing from the yellow tees. If you're the more skilled women golfers, you need to really kill your drive in your second shot, which for you and me would be a good driver and a good 3-wood, maybe 3 hybrid. For women, it's a good drive and a really good drive and a really good 3-wood. I'm sure it's doable. I'm sure LPGA pros could fucking kill me from the white tees at Gulf Mills. But that being said, man, now I'm really walking myself back here. Fuck.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I didn't mean it to sound that way.
No, you're good.
Yeah, all right.
All good, homie. Just edit it out.
No. I mean, I'll take the fire if it's there. But yeah, no, it was good. I birdied the second handicap hole, the 10th hole at Gulf Mills, which huge. First birdie on that hole ever.
That is never been there, but that sounds impressive.
Yeah, man. I'll take you out when you come down. Whenever you come down to Philly next.
Oh, I'm getting invited, huh?
Yeah, you're getting invited now.
I'll have to hold you to it.
Yeah, accept now. Accept the invite.
Accept
it. You're
Oh,
coming. Oh God. The goalie. This is why people tell us that we have too many inside jokes, though, Greg.
This is why our podcasts go on forever, because we're having fun. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing.
We're having a ton of fun, but I think I need to go clean my house. Otherwise, Third and Girl might end the podcast for us. I'll put it that way.
You might not have a place to live, bud.
I may not have a place to live when my lease ends. That's a really good point. I don't want to be homeless. But Greg, how do you feel about Game 5? Quickly before we wrap this thing up.
The 2 times that the Bruins lost the defenseman in the game, they lost. So they went down to 5D and lost both those games. Grizzly has officially been ruled out. Chara can't speak or talk or open his jaw, really. So he's questionable.
Is Kevin Miller close to coming back, our boy?
He had a huge setback in his rehab, but so no. I think they dress. I don't know. I'd rather them dress 7D and rotate a center, or switch lines up a little bit, and that way, if Chara can't play, they have 6D. But it's Cassie's decision, and that's why he's getting paid a ton of money. I think the Sharks are right. The Blues go out and try to hurt people. Just kidding. No, it was a free play that got Chara in the job. But honestly, I'm confident in that. I said Bruins in 6. Reality is I'm going to be sweating all sorts of stuff off until this series is over. Win or lose.
Yeah, I think home ice holds. I think Bruins win tonight, Blues win Game 6, and then Bruins take it home in 7. I'm going to stay. I said 7 at the beginning of the series. I'm going to stay it there.
I mean, it's funny, though, because the stat that I said, the Blues score in the first 5 minutes, they win the game. And
yes.
Both games they won, they scored in the first 5 minutes. So,
yep.
Granted, one of them was overtime. But either way, the Bruins can last the first 5 minutes. They're winning the game.
All righty. You heard it there. Greg, I think that's going to do it.
Let's go Bees.
Let's go Bees. Let's go Phils. Let's go Sox. And hopefully none of the Eagles tore any ACLs going bowling today. I'm just going to say that.
You put it in the universe.
Oh, Jesus. Did you see Julian Edelman wore a Bruins jersey at their OTA today?
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. They all did it last week. They did it last week, too, for Game 1.
Did they? Oh, that's good. Did any of them go? Is Tom Brady going to chug a beer tonight?
No.
No? All right.
I think
the TB12 method?
I think people will go. I'm not sure that Tom Brady will go or chug a beer, but I think people go.
I want him to chug a beer and say Aaron Rodgers matched that, because Rodgers tried to throw it back in all the quarterbacks' faces, being like, oh, they're all better than me at something now. And he doesn't have that over Tom Brady. I'll just say that.
Well, Tom Brady had the
chugging beer or skill over.
They said Brady. Well, anyway, Brady got down pretty quick. They said Mahomes, he had a can, so no one really knows if he finished or not.
Yeah, that's a good point. Kermit the Frog.
Jordy, go Sox, go Bees. I'll give you a Phils. Go Phils. And the process did not work out.
All right, we'll see. We'll see when they run it back with Jimmy Butler with all the money in the world. We'll see.
Give it to the world. Peace, love, and gap.
All right, buddy. All right, that'll do it. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Facebook, or iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Podcoin. Follow us on Twitter, ThunderBLG, Thunderbug Sports on Instagram and Facebook, just like the website. For my man, Greg the Prophet Piatelli, I am the G-Man. Have a great weekend, everybody, and go Phils.
Say the children.